Welcome back to another Crooked Spine Show interview. I'm here with Troy Lang. In 2025, it is right now, this is July 2nd, 2025, we have now advanced treatments and therapies to help us get and stay healthy quickly. In today's interview with Troy Lang, he explains why his wellness center, Culture OC in Newport Beach, California, your wife runs it too, correct?
Yeah, we built this company together, yep.
Why it's thriving and the state-of-the-art equipment they use to help optimize clients' recovery, performance, and increase their longevity for a variety of health conditions. Let's find out why Culture OC has been the place to go in Southern California. Mr. Troy, welcome to the show. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tony. I appreciate you having me on and being able to present and share a bit about what we do in regards to longevity. And the term biohacking is used a lot today, and we really are in that space. It's really taking ownership and responsibility of understanding our biology and how we can sort of manipulate or construct that to get a biological response using different technologies and therapies that we offer through things like LED light stimulation, hyperbaric oxygen chambers. You have saunas or infrared saunas for detoxing the body, and then really combining these different treatments in protocols that we can also mix in with things like peptides, working closely with other physicians like chiropractic services, and getting that well-rounded, holistic look at what is happening to the body and how we can get better results and optimize cellular performance ideally.
It's almost doing it naturally too, versus relying on medications or surgeries that maybe have a risk involved. That's almost the body wants that to enhance its own efficiency and also potential.
Yeah, that's right. And when we look at, for instance, a lot of people understand red light, or we're hearing a lot more about red light therapy. So we have I spent a lot of time around different practitioners. I know the owners of a lot of the companies of the technologies that I use. And when we talk about light therapy, it's actually light stimulation. It's stimulating your cell's biological response. And our bed has two different wavelengths of red light, two different wavelengths of infrared light. And technically, these wavelengths of light are what we would naturally get from the sun at certain times in the day. Early morning and late afternoon sun, when you can physically look at it, is where you're getting these certain wavelengths of light that are beneficial for cellular communication and cellular energy production. And that's what we're doing. We're extracting our environment of what we should naturally get in nature and trying to bring it into a space where we're mechanically forcing that mechanism of action by being in a treatment facility or on a device that's giving you that therapy.
It's amazing because some people talk about red light therapy, but they don't really know what it is. It's almost like you don't understand it's near and far infrared. It's different things you can do with it too. But when you explain it in a scientific perspective, it's a natural occurring thing that people don't realize we need every day. It's just not part of the medical field, for one. Do me a favor, Troy, back up a second too. What in the past really planned to see to build Culture OC for you and your wife? I want to kind of get the big picture of what community is about right now.
Yeah, so everyone has a story. Everyone has a unique story. Generally, a lot of that story goes back to childhood and challenges or trauma or things that we face and develops into sometimes sabotaging behaviors or influences in our own adult life, and really unpacking all that so that we can have a better quality of life in future. And mine started, I grew up in an environment, very challenging environment with alcoholic parents, a lot of verbal domestic violence. And I myself, in early teens, got into drugs and alcohol and went down a path of addiction and substance abuse through my 20s. And at the age of one thing, and I think one of the best biological biohacking things that we can do is physical exercise. I walked into a gym when I was 15, and that was the one thing that kept me safe through challenges with addiction and alcoholism, because I never lost touch with that aspect of physical movement and how it made me feel. But at the age of 30, I was actually in the Himalayas. I was trekking through the Himalayan mountain ranges on a 7-day trek. And I just had this huge realization that if I didn't make some major changes in my life, that one, I don't know if I was going to continue to have a quality of life because of the things I was doing and the way I was living. And I definitely wasn't going to have a family or have a wife or the things that I really desired from my future. So because I had that physical background training that really kept me grounded and kept me on direction and on point,
Good.
I started to really explore, firstly, why my psychology was the way it was in regards to my decisions and choices around substance and alcohol and drugs and things like that. So I dived deep into childhood psychology, early brain development, and that started to unpack different ways of looking at how therapies could help me unpack these emotional traumas. So I got into float therapy, like a flotation tank. If you've heard of a sensory deprivation tank, which is where it's filled with water and high levels of magnesium and Epsom salts, and you get into like the pod, it closes, the lights go out, and you're floating. It's almost been referred to as being back in the womb. And I was working with a counselor or therapist at the time using float therapy to break down some of the trauma and challenges and subconscious conditioning that I developed through my early childhood development. And through the divine universe or the natural evolution of when you want to make changes and you're taking full responsibility, sometimes in those environments, the right people start to get put in front of you. So from the float therapy community, I was then introduced to a community that met every day for beach swims and cold water dips, and they were all into breath work and meditation. So I started to learn the power of breath work and ice plunging and cold water therapy.
Yeah, great.
And then I just continued this like 10-year long journey of like self-education in biohacking, how I could optimize my performance physically, how I could break free from different traumas and subconscious conditionings. And it led me into learning more about LED light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen chambers, detox pathways through sauna and supplementation. And it just opened up this whole world that I became extremely fascinated with. And it was at that point, it was like, I want to be able to share my knowledge and give back to the community of what I've learned and what's helped me, because it was more than just the physical aspect. It was a whole reconstruction of me as a person. And actually, for the first time in my life at 31, feeling like I actually knew who I was as a person emotionally and spiritually through all the practices of breath work, meditation, and then physically feeling that through these other therapies that offered this optimized physical experience.
It's almost you took something that helped you, found a community that actually did all of that, the cold plunge, the swimming, the breath work for one, also took the next level of now I've got my health to my best potential at this point. How do I pay it forward? How do I make the next someone not have to go through all these ways, these mazes, and make it easier for them to get the help now versus trial and error, where they don't go down a rabbit hole of where now they have other issues, long-term issues, and maybe never get out of that hole. You really get there. Why not pay it forward like you have? So fantastic. Good for you, and good for your community.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And what I've found is that the journey of, like, I work a lot with men's mental health. I'm passionate about men's mental health and providing an environment for men to be able to understand that it's okay to express how you feel, because a lot of us, we're just by our primal nature, we feel that we have to be the protector and the provider, and that we don't want to put our burdens on our wife or our children, or we hold that in. So my biggest evolution was spending time with other men who would freely share their experience and share their story. And that's why what you're sharing in regards to what I've just shared is like, how can I provide an environment where people get this understanding of my story to relate to that, to be able to understand, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. There are other options, and there are different things that I can do to make me feel better and to be a better person. When you become the best version of yourself, you become the best version for everyone else around you. So it's that inner self-love that you're really connecting with, and looking to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first. Because if you put all your energy into the environments around you, the people around you, you at some point will just become depleted and not the best version of yourself. So it's very important to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, looking after yourself, providing that self-love, so that you become the best version for all the people in your life and your community around you.
I've known you for about 10 minutes now, Troy, and two things. I think you're okay being uncomfortable, and I think you like to help people.
Yeah. It's
sorry. I've been around a lot of people, so it'd be good for you. And again, it's not about the business, it's sometimes knowing about the person behind the business to build that trust and what they've gone through. They're not selling something, they're telling what that worked for them to help you. Now create a life for you, maybe mental, physical, psychological, or spiritual health to get themselves better. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. And I got goosebumps when you said that, because to be seen is a big thing for people to feel like they've been seen for who they are. That's what people just want to be heard, and they want to be seen, and they want love like that. These are the three core values
Basic
of
human nature.
what people want. And sometimes the hardest thing is asking for help. And that's something I've struggled a lot with in my life, because I've been brought up to be very independent and to be very protective of the people around me. And sometimes that creates challenges with asking for help when you really need help, which is a environment from a community aspect that we really try to create. We have a beautiful facility offering all these treatments, but we do a lot of community events. We do big breathwork events where we bring community together. We do cold plunge events where we do pop-up ice baths and breathwork events. And we try to connect with a lot of community events that are doing the same things, where we can provide different services and bring what we do in culture to the outside environment as well.
It's amazing when you make your community part of you, and it's just an equal exchange rule where the more you give, the more you get back. You get back enough to do whatever you want to do. And obviously your family, and your community of Culture OC has done that for one too. Getting into your company, we'll have another talk down the line about mental, physical health, and just being a good human. Let's talk about that later on. We'll go back to your business too. How does it help quality of life long term by biohacking? What is biohacking? Let you talk about it. Explain that to me.
So biohacking is literally reversing it, hacking into our biology. And so what we're doing is we're looking for a biological response. So how our cells communicate and how much energy they produce, or our mitochondria produce, determines how well our body is functioning on a cellular level. And we are made up of trillions of cells. All these cells have different roles. So whether it's from organs to muscle tissue to hair to skin, but they all communicate together, and their communication pathways and how much energy they produce is what determines our cellular health. And then this has a huge role in metabolic dysfunction, because over 90% of most of the citizens in the US have some sort of metabolic dysfunction, which is your body's inability to break down things metabolically to produce the energy required, which is a cellular function. So when we're bringing someone in to look at how their lifestyle is, we're structuring it and looking at everything from what is your sleep like, how much water do you consume, your diet, what is your community aspect like, your social time. And then we're looking for different things. When we have people who have done blood work and certain things, we're looking at their hormone levels and trying to understand how much inflammation is in their body, how their cells are responding, and what therapies would best serve the issue they're presenting. So if it's a chronic health issue, we have people going through surgery recovery. So we're looking for a faster response with oxygen and LED light therapy to stimulate the tissue to recover faster. So it's really profiling each individual client to understand what they're managing or what they're exposed to, so that we can then create a protocol that's going to work best for delivering energy. Majority of the things that our body is doing is receiving or breaking down something to produce energy. So light and oxygen is giving cells more energy to detoxify the body, to produce more cellular energy. When we eat food, we're breaking down the nutrients to produce energy. So most things we look at in day-to-day life around treatments is all about energy production, how well your body can absorb energy, and how well it can output that energy through different treatments and things that we do.
It's almost like, and if I had, for example, recovering from surgery, or just felt lethargic, with fatigue all the time, or had other issues going on too, if you went to your medical doctor, this would not be something they would talk about.
No.
It's the next medication. It's more surgery, maybe PT, whatever it might be. Why doesn't medicine see this, or even your health insurance, and mine doesn't obviously, or most people don't, cover this? Why do you think?
Well, I'm glad you actually brought this subject up. We live in a dysfunctional society that has been overly flooded with financial gain, and huge. And the pharmaceutical industry has had so much control over everything from the universities that teach the medical practices to, I mean, we can look back in history and go into the depths of how that all changed from the Rockefellers, they're going through their oil businesses, seeing how they were able to produce, the first line of pharmaceuticals, and then funding the medical industry that really basically started to blackwall natural remedies that we've lived off for thousands of years, and made
It almost
naturopathic.
made them illegal in the
They
U.S.
did. They did. And we need to get back to the root cause. What the problem is in the medical industry is that what you shared, they're looking for you to present symptoms that they say this pill will fix. But what we need to do is look at the root cause. Why are you having these symptoms? And this could be an effect of your environment. You may have mold in your environment. When we talk about diet's a big thing that comes up a lot. There is no one diet that suits all. People have a different biological response to different foods, and we can all, be aware and say, okay, processed foods aren't good for anyone, but that doesn't mean that a carnivore diet is good for this person versus a vegan diet is better for this person. We have to understand what our body can break down and use those nutrients to get past the root cause of why you're getting all this inflammatory response within the body. And we do live in a system where it is unfortunately not constructed to looking at the root cause. It's looked at the quick fix. And that's why, as educators, like what you guys do with your podcasts and sharing information and your own understanding of like better lifestyle practices, we have to educate our communities on better lifestyle practices from starting from the ground up. So I often share, you can have a multi-million-dollar facility with all the best equipment, but if you are not doing the simple things right first, looking at your diet, alcohol consumption, physical activity, sleep, all these little things which are all in your own control, we have to start there, because you can come into a facility like this, and if you aren't ticking off the boxes of like food intake and exercise, it's pointless. You're wasting your time.
It's almost like you're helping someone get to a better lifestyle first, diet, nutrition, exercise, mindset, whatever it might be, and then everything you have offered at Culture OC allows them to now enhance that and then maintain it on their own. Correct?
Yeah, that's 100% right. It's exactly right.
And also, too, what do you normally treat at Culture OC? What's the normal people that come in with? What's your common people come in concern wise, or health conditions, or just overall health?
Yeah, to be honest, because of what we do, we work with a large demographic of people from our area. So I'm currently working, and I have a really great success story. I currently have 2 people that are actually diagnosed with cancer. One lady has a rare form of lymphoma, cancer in her hip, that when she came to us, she'd already been through multiple stages of chemo. And her body was not responding to it, but she was so depleted that they couldn't continue any cancer treatments through chemotherapy. She spent 3 months with us doing my super healing protocol, which is our PMF, our red light bed, and our hyperbaric oxygen chamber. That's all one protocol. She was doing that anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week. After the 3 months she spent with us, she got referred back to the doctors at UCLA. She was being transferred, and they did all her testing and blood work, and they said, we don't understand what's going on, because they gave her anywhere from a week to a month, maybe a few months to live.
Yeah.
When they got all her results back, all the nodules on her lungs were disappeared. Like, she had 100% lung capacity back. The fracture in her hip had healed up. The cancer was no longer growing or aggressive, and she wasn't telling them of like the biohacking treatments that she was doing. And they were blown out. Since then, they seem like they're quite progressive. She's shared what she's doing, and they were really excited that she's doing these extra treatments. But what is funny is that the nurses can't openly, like, she wants to share her story that everyone should be doing these treatments. And or even the nurses that are all part of her support team who are like on board and think it's great, they really can't talk about it, because it goes fully against do you know how much money is involved in chemotherapy is ridiculous in regards to, like, they're never not going to want to give it up. You know what I mean?
It's like being part of the other team and going, I know that team's better, but I can't say it.
Yeah. But outside of that, so, we have people coming in with cancer. We have a lot of people who are recovering from surgery, whether it be cosmetic surgery or athletic recovery, like shoulder reconstructions. And then we have a lot of clients who, in this day and age, after the pandemic and what we went through, where people realized that your health was one of the best combative things you could use against a virus or disease.
Perfect.
People are much more interested in their health and longevity and learning more about different things that you can do to optimize that. So we have a huge basis of just longevity wellness warriors who
Good.
want to have a better quality of health and want to have control over their health and future.
It's amazing when someone looks at them at it and you almost make them more an advocate for their own health versus relying on a doctor or someone else to actually help them get better. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of great doctors around. We work with a lot of great functional medicine doctors in regards to looking at hormone therapies. I actually, I'm a big fan of chiropractic. I actually broke my neck 5 years ago in a surfing accident, and I had my C4, C5, and C6 fused together. And I get regular weekly adjustments because when I do have good range of motion, but I get really quite stiff when I haven't had adjustments.
Yeah.
And so like all these I get acupuncture, chiropractic services, like all these things are what's required for optimizing how your body functions and how you can get the most out of it. So it's very important to have a good, strong community of doctors who are, like yourself, very proactive and progressive in regards to new technologies, new treatments, and not being succumbed to the whole pharmaceutical push and the drug industry.
It's amazing when you have that alternate perspective, when it's alternate, basically non-medication perspective or non-surgical perspective first, and then you take care of your health so you don't need other stuff.
Yeah.
You keep it, so that point it becomes an issue. When someone walks in your clinic, in your wellness clinic first, what is the evaluation? How does it help you figure out what specifically they need, what type of treatments they may need to get them to a better state of health?
Yeah, so we go through a pretty in-depth intake process, a wellness evaluation, and our intake process is very detailed on things that I've shared earlier in the podcast regarding your lifestyle aspects. So we are asking if you've had previous blood work done, so we can look at your hormone levels and micronutrient levels, because that plays a big role on how your cells function and your immune system, but also the physical aspects of do you exercise? What is your nutrition like? What is your social environment like? Do even down to do you spend much time in nature? Because we're looking at everything from a holistic point of view. So we want to understand your lifestyle. That gives us a good starting point to then be able to advise different treatments or different services that will really benefit. Also, what you're verbally communicating to us, like what is it, the experience that you're having? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? And then all that information we put together to provide the best protocol, the best services, and we can I'm a big cold plunge enthusiast, but cold plunging is an intense, aggressive therapy. And if it's not, I'm a big believer that if it's not taught to someone, because we teach a guided breathwork practice before we even get in the cold plunge, and we're teaching breathwork. We're teaching that for emotional fight or flight control, which enables you to handle stress and discomfort. Ideally, it's being used in the cold plunge, but what we find is that when people are cold plunging regularly, they're doing our breath work, learning these practices, is that when you go into the outside world and you're managing stress and confrontation, these practices help you manage that stress and those challenges, because you're developing a practice where you're inherently pushing yourself to do something you don't want to do, which starts to rewire your brain in regards to how you manage stress and discomfort. And our breath is so important to controlling our nervous system response, our heart rate. So it's so much more than the physiological response you get from these therapies. We're also teaching the mindset and how to control your nervous system at the same time.
And you're almost like, I want to start faking up. You're going, hey, do this or this or this. And all of a sudden they go, wow, my life outside of the cold plunge, the wellness center is actually easier now, even though I'm doing the same thing. It's just how I respond to my environment. I can handle it. It doesn't make me want to stress out. Like you said, nervous system keeps that more parasympathetic system versus stress response for one, two in the body.
Yeah. And people don't know these things. There's such simple things. Like you could be stressed and be in your car and just pull over for 5 to 10 minutes, do some deep breathing, and immediately you're going to change how your nervous system responds to that stress.
And walk me through too. We talked about that's part of it too. Do you have give me a detail? How does breath work actually work? And we'll walk through all your therapies for one. So let's walk through some of the breath work first.
So we do teach some different styles of breath work, deep diaphragm breath. We do some Sufi breathing, pineal activation breath. And what we're doing is when you're going into intense breath work, you're obviously taking in a lot more oxygen. So the air we breathe, only 21% of that is actual oxygen that our body utilizes, that our hemoglobin receptors attach those oxygen molecules to. But in day-to-day life, we actually breathe quite shallowly and quickly. So when we're taking in deep breaths into our diaphragm, we're flooding our body with oxygen and we're slowing our heart rate down and pushing ourselves into our parasympathetic state, which is our recovery state. But what we're doing with different styles of breath work is we're able to, depending on the breath rate, how fast we're breathing, and our retention rounds, we can jump between sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic is our activation of our fight or flight. We're ready to go. We're activated. And then we switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic, where our body goes into that calm, natural state of recovery. So we're teaching you to how to have control over both. We're switching on sympathetic, where we can be very fast, intentional, short, sharp breaths, where our body is activated. It's like, okay, we have to be ready to run. We have to be ready to fight. Like, well, what are we ready for? And then when we go into that slower, controlled state breathing, whether we're taking more longer breaths in through the nose, holding and breathing out in a slower rate, we're bringing that heart rate down and we're putting ourselves into that parasympathetic state, which is where you're releasing the tension, you're releasing the stress within the body. So we're using breath work to activate both activations so that we understand how that feels. And then utilizing that going into cold plunge, instantly you go into that sympathetic response of like you're hyperventilating, you're holding your breath. And then we come back to that nice, slow, controlled breath. We lower the heart rate and we actually control the environment we're in.
And then going through it too, what is going in from breath work to cold plunge? What is the actual cold plunge and how does it work?
So cold plunge is it's a tub filled with chilled water. So a lot of people have heard of ice baths, but most cold plunges are using a chiller unit to keep the water at a certain temperature that you want it to remain at. So I like to use much lower temperatures. So our cold plunge is around 37 to 40 degrees. But at those temperatures, most of the research and science that I've based our cold plunge practices on is a lower amount of time exposed to the cold to get the most benefits out of cold plunging. So we aim for a minimum 3 minutes at those temperatures, and any time between 3 to 6 minutes is what we share is your time. So if you want to get out at 3, we've got to that point where we need to get to. And what's a cold plunge is very, very anti-inflammatory. So it's reducing inflammation within the body. Your body actually does go into shock, and what happens is we release what's called a cold shock protein. And when you're in a healthy state, so you're not in a deficient state, it's actually boosting your immune response and your immune system by exposing yourself to the cold. It has been shown to stimulate the regeneration of tissue. So we get people with injuries that have had faster recovery times because you're reducing so much inflammation in the area. And then when you get out of the cold plunge and your body goes through the thermogenic effect of warming up, you get a huge release of dopamine and increased blood flow and circulation to the area, which stimulates fresh blood flow to the area, which is what we need for healing and recovery. It's also, we use it as part of our weight loss protocol too, because when you're in the cold plunge, your body's going into this energetic effect of trying to warm yourself up. And the first thing it does is start to burn brown adipose fat tissue, which helps with weight loss as well, because your body's trying to warm up. And the best way to do that is use the fat tissue that's on your body as an energy source to increase your body temperature.
It's amazing when something like that could last for, say, 3-6 minutes and have all that effect. How often do you recommend people doing the cold plunge? Or is that just
one thing about cold plunging is that it's something that you can do on a daily basis, as long as your body's in a healthy point of view. So cold plunging can have negative effects, and you do want to be aware of that. If your immune system is deficient, or you have really bad blood circulation or blood flow in general, you can have a negative response to the environment. So that's why we go through the intake. But if you're a healthy individual, I try to get in that cold plunge every day because of the psychological benefits. There is never a day I want to get in there. I've never met anyone that gets enjoyment out of physically getting in. But when you get in and you do it regularly, for me, it's a meditation practice. Within 10 to 15 seconds, I'm in the zone. I have my meditation that I like to play that's training my subconscious, and I'm just in the zone. I'm not cold. I'm not thinking about the external environment. My body's just going through the process. Ideally, though, for someone who doesn't have access to it daily, I'd like to see someone in there, 3 or 4 times a week. But there's a lot of science around, specifically I've treated a few males who have low testosterone levels. Cold plunging prior to weightlifting or heavy weight training has seen up to a 50% increase in natural testosterone production. And
Nice.
I've had clients who have had blood work and testing done and utilize this practice 5 times a week with their training and seen a huge evolution in their natural testosterone production. So
It's amazing when things that have been around for thousands of years still work.
yeah.
Fantastic. Did you incorporate and then talk about hyperbaric oxygen therapy? How does that work, say, in conjunction with or other therapies too?
Yeah, so on the market, you will see different companies offer hyperbaric, but there are what is classed as a soft shell chamber, which will look like a canvas bag that you'll be zipped up in. And then you have what's called a hard shell chamber, which is it's a hard shell that's normally made out of fiberglass or some sort of stronger material. And the difference between something that's a soft shell, which is great for therapeutic use, so you're looking for just performance and recovery benefits, compared to a hard shell chamber, is the amount of pressure that you can pressurize that vessel to get a different response. So in our hard shell chamber, it maxes out at 2 ATA, and hyperbaric is measured in atmosphere absolutes, which is what ATA stands for. For when we're talking about deeper cellular regeneration and recovery, we really want to be above 1.5 and between 1.5 to 2.4, depending on what we're managing. And it depends on how often you're utilizing that chamber based on the specific needs of whether it's injury or chronic health issues, traumatic brain injury. So we really have to work out what is going on. And then that's where we base what pressure we want to get you to. So in the chamber, now, most chambers are not pressurized with oxygen. In a hospital, you'll find a lot of chambers are pressurized with oxygen. So when you're in a hyperbaric that's pressurized with oxygen, it becomes a very volatile environment. So you cannot wear jewelry, you can't take electronics in, you have to wear cotton clothing because it's a volatile environment for explosion. It only needs a small static shock from clothing. That's why you have to wear cotton clothing. And you've created a bomb, essentially. A lot of chambers in wellness and recovery centers like ours are pressurized with normal air. So we're pressurizing the chamber with normal air, but we have a medical grade oxygen concentrator that's delivering anywhere from 95 to 100% oxygen. So you're wearing a mask that you're breathing in high levels of oxygen. Now, from a biological point, what is happening is with the laws of gas and pressure, oxygen becomes saturated into your blood plasma. Our blood plasma is the liquid portion of our blood that generally doesn't have any high levels of oxygen concentration to it until you are in a pressurized environment where then that oxygen is being saturated into the blood plasma, and that blood plasma is being then forced into the tissue under pressure, which increases most inflammation is a lack of it's hypoxic, so we have a lack of oxygen flow to there. So a couple of things: our cells need oxygen to produce energy. The more energy the cells produce, the more they speed up the healing and recovery time. The more oxygen we get into the tissue, the faster it regenerates the area. The more often you're using a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, the more stem cells are produced from or mobilized from your bone marrow. So stem cells are important because they are the cells that can replicate other cells we're deficient on. They can be any other cell and activate the cell's response to being cells that we're deficient on. Another thing that happens in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber that we find with traumatic brain injuries or issues with the brain, say we've had a stroke or there's brain damage, we're actually limiting the amount of blood flow and oxygen to the area. When you're using hyperbaric enough, our body starts to recreate new vascular pathways,
Perfect.
meaning it's providing more blood flow and more oxygen-rich blood flow.
Give me 1 second. Reset. Lost you, Troy. Give me 1 second here.
Sorry, you there?
Okay, yeah, we're good. It just life happens. We're good. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
What's going on with my camera?
No, you're good.
Oh, can you see me?
Yeah, you're good. I got your sound and visual. So going back to, so it allows it almost to regenerate vascular system in your body. So now, what say for example, someone had a stroke, that cranial circle of Willis can actually improve over time to see their body improve too. And obviously, if there's more blood flow to the brain cells can regenerate. At that point, get them to a better functioning, higher level. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So a lot of things you'll see from having a stroke is paralysis, which is generally that part of the brain has been affected by a lack of oxygen and blood flow to the brain. So, we talked about the medical industry here, and there's only 15 FDA approved and cleared on-label uses for hyperbaric. One of them being TBI or stroke victim brain injuries, but that regulation was created in 1973 or 1970, and since then there has been no further testing or research put into hyperbaric here in the US. But if you go to Europe and South America and other parts in the world, they use hyperbaric oxygen to treat all kinds of chronic health issues, from Lyme's disease to ALS to autism, all kinds of different things. Because we're the story of Chrissy, and she happily lets me share her story, who went through cancer. Her original oncologist told her not to use hyperbaric because it could make the cancer cells more aggressive, which is complete fallacy, and it's not correct. And for someone in his position to be sharing something like that, which this saved her life. She's been alive a whole year now because of what we do with her and how we treat her at this facility with oxygen and light therapy.
It's a form of malpractice.
It is, because the science shows that with cancer cells, they generally feed on glucose. So like high levels of sugar are not good. And they're very hypoxic. So they have a lack of oxygen to the tissue. So how do we reverse that? We flood the body with oxygen.
Opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what hyperbaric does.
What do you combine hyperbaric with normally as a treatment for somebody?
So we combine multiple therapies that synergistically boost each other. So we do our our first precursor part of our super healing protocol is our PMF mat, our pulse electromagnetic frequency mat. This is stimulating blood flow and circulation around the body, reducing inflammation, and starting the process of cellular ATP production or energy production.
Okay.
While they're on the PMF mat, they're wearing a device called a BrainTap, which is a meditation headset device that uses light and audio therapy, and it shifts the brainwave activity into the parasympathetic state, that delta or theta brainwaves. And why we do that is because our brain is what's sending and receiving signals around the body. So if we can really bring that into a parasympathetic state before going into the other treatments, we're going to maximize the benefits of, for instance, from the PMF BrainTap, we go onto our LED light therapy bed. That's our next treatment. Perfect. Now on there, once again, a lot of these treatments do the similar things. We're reducing inflammation, we're increasing blood flow and circulation. On the LED bed, though, that's releasing trapped nitric oxide from the cells that line the artery walls. This dilates the system and allows more oxygen into the cell, which is where we go from our red light bed into our hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And now we're flooding the body with oxygen so our cells can maximize their oxygen input variables to get more oxygen into the cell, more oxygen into the circulatory system that's already been activated by the PMF and red light. So we're combining these three therapies to really boost how much benefits you get out of each one by synergistically boosting each other.
It's almost like you're allowing the system to calm down first, in that sense, for one, too. Then allow the arteries and everything to vasodilate then you flood it with what it needs. So the deficiencies, that point, everything works at a higher potential. If you do that over and over and over again, the body will now change to a better state of health and almost accept that as their normal.
Yeah. Yeah, and you will see it. Like if someone has a really, like I'm working with a lady who has chronic fatigue. She had some really bad side effects from struggling with energy, brain fog. Now, I tell everyone, so the first 4 weeks we try to make people go through a 12-week protocol.
Perfect.
And it's important because anything like a diet, a training program, therapies like we do, your body goes through an adaptation period. With that first 4 weeks, you can potentially have what will feel or appear like negative side effects. You might actually be more exhausted, more fatigued, because your body's receiving all this energy and it needs time to process it. And your cells need time to communicate. They need time to work out what's actually going on. And with cases like that, we will play with how much pressure you're under in the hyperbaric, how much time you're on the LED bed, how intense the PMF mat is on, so that we can just slowly get your body adapting to it. And then what we find is in after the first 4 weeks, we go into the second month where then they're starting to see significant changes. And then as we go into the third month, that's where all the magic is starting to happen, and they're really starting to feel those strong benefits of recovery.
It's amazing. I've done probably lots of podcasts with people in healthcare, like as yourself for one too. It's amazing how that 3-month, 12-week window is so important to get to, so your body can change physiology, now accept the better normal.
Yeah.
The first week's gonna be like, it's gonna be exhaustion. Your body's gonna fight. This is new to us. This is a stress to us. This isn't good for us. It also goes, wait a second, this is gonna be in our normal. Now it can change at that point once you get the healthier state, say 3 months. At that point, your body goes, this is where I want to stay now. This is where, like you mentioned, this is where my neck feels a little bit off. I'm going to go see the chiropractor. I'm going to make sure now you know what normal is for you, then maintain that. That's so much easier.
Yeah, and it is optimizing cellular function, which is ideally what we're trying to do.
And because you're going to feel better, you're like, now my state of health, I want to keep it here versus my normal is down here. Let's get it there. It's amazing when people see that benefit and they stick because now they know what they want. Talking about, to go back a little bit too, what is BrainTap therapy?
So BrainTap is it's literally an audio headset, like any audio headset. It's designed by Dr. Patrick Porter. He works in addiction and he's a psychologist. And in the earpieces, there are actually blue and red LEDs that are activating the energy meridians or acupuncture points in your ears. Then there is a visor that comes down. So a visor comes over and down over your eyes. So your eyes are closed behind this visor, and through the eyepieces, there is a pulsating light. And the BrainTap has meditations geared to, because the meditation is all about subconscious conditioning. So if you present to us, I've had a stressful day, we will look up in the BrainTap app for meditations related to stress relief. And then what I tell people is you want to focus on what is this visual interpretation of what the light therapy is doing that you're seeing behind your eyelids closed, because this is connecting to the retina that's sending a signal to the brain that they did all their clinical trials and studies on people actually showing their brainwave activity before using a BrainTap device, and then using a BrainTap device and showing that we could literally, through light and audio therapy, through subconscious messages, change and that brainwave activity into more of a delta or theta state, which is our sleep state. It's our parasympathetic state of recovery.
It's almost like you're getting someone to really shut everything down around them consciously, so now their subconscious can actually change to now go back and affect the conscious, so what you feel will be a better state of health.
Yeah, and the reason why doing that is because, as I shared before, our brain is what's sending and receiving signals around the body. It's the epicenter of healing. We do have the psychological response to be able to heal ourselves, but we want to provide it with different inputs to maximize that. I quite often tell people our psychology is our biology. So what you think and what you think comes into existence. So even with people coming in with serious health issues, I need you to be in a space and understanding that you have the ability to heal yourself, but we're providing these external mechanical inputs to help boost the effect, but that your brain is the one that's going to do the healing. We're just providing other inputs for your brain to receive these inputs and then use them to heal the body.
it's amazing how science now has proven what most people have thought theory wise, that the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord affects the organs of the body, the muscle tissue, your mindset, and vice versa. It's all connected. So if one thing is off, everything got to function at a lower level. If you can hit
Yeah.
everything, or you're hitting all sorts of boom, 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 there's nothing that the person, unless they want to think they're in a bad state of health, that can get them to not get their body better.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's all about what's signaling in the brain, because
Yes.
that's what's controlling everything.
Talk about nutrition. We haven't hit that too much so far. Nutrition, peptides, how does that affect someone's healing? In your program?
Nutrition is a big one, because people have inflammatory responses to certain foods, and especially when we look at refined sugars and carbohydrates, things that aren't naturally occurring. I'm a pretty simple whole food type guy. Like I'm a meat eater, so I'm very lean meats, chicken breasts, fillet steaks. I love seafood. I love carbohydrates myself. I react really well, but to grown carbohydrates, I love sweet potatoes. I feel like white potatoes is demonized into the same category as bread and pasta, but they're really not. White potatoes are an incredible source of carbohydrate, like clean carbohydrate, and even white rice. White rice is something that I'll have as a carbohydrate. And I really just look at my macronutrients. I'm a protein, carbs, and fats person. My diet is constructed off that. Leafy greens for good fiber. So really simple, nothing too crazy. But like I said, the diet is very challenging for some people. Some people don't want to eat meat, whether it doesn't agree with them or it's ethical reasons. Some people, like different. Well, I'm sure you would know about blue zones, which are areas of the world where people live well into their centurion years.
Mediterranean diets, things like that too.
Yeah, but if you look at we have one here in California, Loma Linda is one of the blue zones. They eat a lot more legumes and beans and things like that. But then in Okinawa, in Japan, which is another blue zone, they eat a lot more yams and sweet potatoes. Then you go to like Sardinia, more Mediterranean diet, where they do eat a lot of bread and pasta, but it's not processed. It's all fresh. Yeah, it's not processed.
It's not the white bread. It's not Wonder White bread. No, we don't have that in that area of the world. And you talked about too, a lot of it is going to be keep it as simple as possible and still be healthy, right? You don't have to buy high-end food all the time or blah blah blah. Just keep it simple. If you have a chicken breast, white potato, boom, simple salad, whatever it might be. That's all you really need.
Yeah, like my favorite thing is a white potato cut up into wedges, a chicken breast or a steak, an avocado, and some broccoli florets. Like to me, that's a simple meal, and you can use some spices and herbs to make it taste. It doesn't have to be boring. But it's just keeping it simple. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. But I think there's three aspects, like connecting to like diet and the blue zone theories, that out of these blue zones, they had different things that were unique to those environments, but there was three main factors that they all shared. It was the diet specific to that area, physical movement. They all had some form of physical movement based on where they lived or their lifestyle. And the third one was community. They had strong community values. They spent time with people. They laughed. They had that energetic environment of being around people. Those were the three things that all blue zones shared that was significant to all of them.
That social positivity, why do you think, and but for my audience, how would you verbalize how it helped them stay healthy?
If you're not, muscle mass and muscle tissue is one of the best precursors to anti-aging. So being physically active is the best anti-aging tool you can do. That is free at your expenditure. You don't need a gym. You can do push-ups. You can do dips. You can go hang off a tree. You can go walk up a hill. Physical movement. You don't get old and stop doing things. You stop doing things, and that's why you get old. So if you're continuously moving, keeping your body active, it slows the aging process. It's the best anti-aging tool. Your diet. It's just simple. Like it's just simple science. Like energy in, good whole foods. It's what your body needs to fuel itself. And community. Like we are tribal people. the whole, like, we're doing a podcast online. It's great. We have this technology, but there's a, if we were in person, there would be a whole different level of energy transfer.
Connection, yeah.
Yeah, connection, and we're great. We're connecting, but like when you're with people, when you share hugs, when you share laughter, when the vibrations of your voice hit their eardrum, there's a whole different transfer of energy. And but that's very important to be aware of the people you hang out with, because that can have a negative impact. So you become a byproduct of your environment. So you want to surround yourself with people who are, positive, want the best for you, who are, for the most part, have a good outlook in life and a good intentions, because that translates and bounces off each other. It's so important.
There's almost that connection of you're only as good as 6 people around you, right? That's all it comes down to. And with that, even when your physical connection with somebody, it's almost like the pheromones, the chemistry, for one too, that the touch for one also is so important for how people sometimes lose that aspect. I get it the other way. I can play games where I want them, but you can. But is your health where it could be? And again, everyone, it can do whatever you want to do, but it's almost people say I'm great. I'm like, you're good, maybe not where you could be. So everyone has their own little option on that.
Yeah, and that's right. That's why you have to be really aware and protective of your environments.
Easy. And you told me one before too, the cancer patient. Tell me about a great success story that you did not expect to happen. That felt unbelievable. Like, whoa, how'd that happen?
I mentioned earlier that I work with a lot of traumatic brain injuries, and a lot of them are from athletes. And I met this young big wave surfer. He lives here in Newport, and he travels around the world chasing monster waves. And
crazy guy.
It was when I'd only just opened the facility, so I was quite new. All my journey had been my own personal journey and bringing everything to life. And he presented, he got a huge wipeout in Hawaii, and he was having all the significant effects of TBI from not being able to consume loud noises, brain fog, headaches, migraines, having to wear glasses because the lighting was too bright. And we spent a month doing my protocol of the Super Healing Protocol, 5 days a week, 2 days off. And we fully took him from like being this shy, reserved, like closed off person because of the effect of the TBI to him, he actually being this really outgoing, like great young kid. And literally after day 30 of him finishing his treatments, he flew to Hawaii, and the next photo I got was of him on this giant wave this time wearing a helmet and just doing what he loves, though, because he before he came in, he couldn't do anything. He's basically just stuck in his own world. He couldn't do anything. And obviously the thing he loved was surfing. And we, after that month, being able to put into action therapies I know work and boost the effects of each other in this new setting, in this new business. It was me just saying, I want you to trust me. I know the science of what my therapies can do and how it can help you. You put that trust in me, and I promise I'll give it back to you. And lo and behold, 4 weeks after treatment, he's back out there just chasing these crazy waves that I would never entertain getting.
That's good for somebody else. I'm good right here on land. I'm good.
Yeah.
How long have you been business, Troy? How long have you had the wellness center?
Culture OC now has been open 2 years this month.
So now you have the knowledge, yes, and being an expert means time. You have enough time now. Also, you've built, like I said, you have something that can help people long term and short term get their health at better state. What's a good takeaway to get someone started on getting healthy? Where would you start them? Say you can't see them. They're somewhere in Timbuktu, somewhere on the East Coast, maybe in New York. How would you help them get started in their health journey?
I would firstly really start and look at their mindset and how they are psychologically structured in regards to discipline and self-motivation. Very important, because if I'm not there directly with you, you have to have some level of discipline and indicators that you're willing to put in the time and effort of what it's going to take for things that you have in your control. The next thing would just be exactly what we talked about before, your nutrition. Everything's going to start with simple point of view of like, what is your nutrition like? What's the food intake you like? And next and most important is, are you physically moving? If you are struggling with mental health problems, depression, anxiety, the first and best thing you can do is exercise. Instantly, it will change how you feel. It will release that dopamine release, those neurochemicals that release, those endorphins that just make you feel instantly better. Even if it's a hard workout, it just instantly makes you feel better. So really understanding someone's psychological point of view, where they're at, because there's little things like breath work and meditation that make a huge difference, that can be done every morning, every evening. Nutrition's going to change your biological response to how you're feeling, and your physical activity is the most important, because that's going to release these chemicals that are going to start to make you feel better.
It's amazing when you think about mindset first, and from there, how do we change? Now we get the right mindset, then we can actually do things, get our body healthy. And like you said, mentioned too, with just movement alone, reduces cortisol, gets our stress hormones to reduce, increases our good hormones to help our body relax. Again, changing that neurological response to our nervous system actually changes long term too. So
yeah,
Mr. Troy, anything else I missed that you want to talk about today?
No, I just want to thank you, because to have this opportunity to speak and share what we do, but to also connect with great doctors and physicians like yourself, I think is so important. I really love what you're doing out in the world, not just with you're a chiropractor, but your ability to connect with people, to want to share more information. I think that is extremely powerful, and it's everything that we need as a society. So I just want to applaud you and the work that you're doing, Dr. Tony, for your own community, and being able to share messages of other people to know that there are different things and other things that we can do to utilize the benefits of having a better quality of life.
It's amazing. We all have business to run, right? We all have to do our own thing to pay our taxes or build everything else too. But this is what makes my job fun, by doing these things for free. There's no commercials. There's no commercial ads, right? We're not getting paid.
Yeah.
Can share the word of people getting healthy and staying healthy. And you offer things that I've brain tapping. I've heard a little bit about it, but you're offering certain things that people, when you combine them together, like the combination, the synergistic effect, allows people to really see the benefit of getting healthy and then maintain the better state of health, which is phenomenal.
Actually, I did have one question, because I wanted to ask you, what are some biohacking things that you do in your own personal wellness and recovery stuff?
My thing is really hydration, and again, nutrition, right? It's keeping it as simple as possible. I'm going to have a salad. I have right now in the fridge, I have egg whites ready to go. I gave my dog the yolks. I had big hard-boiled eggs. I have tomatoes, and I have garbanzo beans. Boom, simple, right? I mean, my thing is fasting too. I eat maybe 2 meals a day and keep it simple as possible. I have a protein shake just to keep my body going. But fasting for me has been a way to. I wear a heart rate monitor that has heart rate variability. Also tells me where I am every day. It's keeping track of certain things, like you had mentioned, so you know the right things. When you're not the right things, okay, what am I doing wrong? How am I low energy? What's going on? Listening to your body and having certain things like you're offering. I do red light therapy also, so I do that at home. It's almost like certain things you can do on your own, but routinely to make your body feel better. I also do leg compression sleep. I do a sauna when it's warm enough too. It's listening to your body, but doing the certain things that may take time to get yourself healthy. So I do it so tomorrow feels better.
Yeah.
I saw this morning, 68 people this morning, the office. I'll go back at 2:00 and probably see another 40.
Yeah, right.
I love what I do, but make sure this body stays healthy so I can do it tomorrow. And so I have more days involved. So thank you for the question. That's what I do. I wake up in the morning, 14 this morning, stretch, go work out, hit the gym, hit my back day. Boom. Come home, walk the dog, go to work.
Yeah.
But it's like you say, it's living what you preach, so people see that this is actually truth.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome, my friend. Quick lean in for a quick thumbnail. Quick lean in. All right, my friend. I'll stop the show. We'll see you in the back. Thanks for watching, guys. Hold on for 1 second, Mr. Troy.